Fall Fest. My name is Gregory Hill. I am the CEO of the Indianapolis Public Library. As a longtime member of the African American History Committee here at the library, it's been an honor to help develop programs like Fall Fest that celebrate African American culture across our library system. Fall Fest was founded by our African American History Committee as a way to showcase and celebrate African American culture through interactive programming. This event offers our community a fun, free space where young people can connect with inspiring role models. I would like to thank the committee for their tremendous work that they have put into making this event happen. Thank you all for your dedication. We're thrilled to welcome Ms. Yolanda Renee King to Fall Fest a little later in our schedule. At just 16 years old, Ms. King is already an author and activist inspired by her grandparents, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Coretta Scott King. We look forward to hearing her thoughts on courage, a message that is as important now as ever. This event wouldn't be possible without the support of our community sponsors, including the Indianapolis Foundation Library Fund and the J. Steve and Donna D. Talley Fund, through gifts to the Indianapolis Public Library Foundation. To our donors, thank you for making today's speaker and program possible. And to those joining us here at Central Library for the very first time, we welcome you. We hope you'll return to explore all that we have to offer, including our Center for Black Literature and Culture, which features more than 25,000 books, ebooks, film, and music that celebrate Black history and culture. Thank you, and please enjoy Fall Fest. Thanks everybody for coming out.
So I'm very excited to be here today and share this with all of you. I wrote this poem, I think a year or so ago, for the Bobby Kennedy Memorial. So yeah, I'm very excited to share this. April 4th, 1968. Martin Luther King was assassinated on April 4th, 1968 at the Lorraine Motel. June 6, 1968. Bobby Kennedy was assassinated on June 6 at the Ambassador Hotel. Why is it that every time someone's onto something, every time we almost reach kumbaya, everyone dies? Everyone is killed. Is it that we as a country crave murder? The sweet taste of tears, or the acidic smears of blood that stain our integrity? Not that we had any in the first place. After a relentless war, don't you think we would have learned? Killing only brings more killing. But you knew that, didn't you? We all knew that. But manslaughter is our nicotine, our caffeine. We are a killing machine, and that is what allows us to sleep so silent and serene. That is what gives us the money and the time to ignore the fines and commit the crimes. Killing is the gas that fuels our cars. Killing is the telescope we use to look up at the stars. Killing is what lights our cigars. Killing is the only thing we can call ours. Killing is supposed to put a man behind bars. Killing has us trapped in feather and tar to cover our scars. Rope us in like a dog chases a bone, because when killing calls, we answer the phone. But little did anyone know, you cannot kill a king, because you can hear his voice in my words. His strength weaved into our braids, his warmth as we wave good day. Behind you, you can feel his cape. On your head, his crown. In my breath, you can hear that sound, that killing is still around. And it must be stopped before another king's body is found. Thank you.
Hello. How are we doing today? Amazing.
Well, I'm very excited to be talking with you today. So I got to speak to you a little bit earlier, but I just want to start off by asking, how are you and how's your day been today?
Well, first of all, I just want to acknowledge how amazing your poem was.
Thank you.
I think that deserves another round of applause. Thank you. But I mean, it's been a good day. I mean, the energy in here has just been so amazing today. And even down the hall as we've been running around and kind of doing other things, like we've been hearing the music and I've been like, what's going on in here? And like the chanting, and so the energy here is just like amazing today. And so I think that everyone can relate to this, but whenever you here are close to good energy, your energy is really becomes like kind of matches that, I guess.
Okay, well, the first question I want to ask is something I think that we're all wondering, which is, how does it feel to be Dr. Martin Luther King's granddaughter, and more than that, carry forward his legacy?
Well, I would say that it feels, I guess, it is a part of me, and I guess it always has been my whole life, and so I don't think it's never felt, I guess, fully weird or different, I would say, because it's something that has been a part, something that my parents have made sure that I've felt connected to my whole life. I will say though, when I was kind of 4 and when I was little, and my first memories of, I guess, my grandparents were, well, you come from an amazing family, or just hearing stories all the time. But I don't think it, and even now I'm still like really understanding, and I think it's like a kind of a maturity thing, how amazing and really understanding the legacy, and it's almost like a feeling, I would say. And I think it was around the age of 9 when I really understood, I think when it really began to sink into me. I mean, I had all this knowledge, and I had known, oh yeah, like my grandparents did X, Y, Z, but I think I didn't really understand when I was 9, and I just kind of remember us going, I guess, maybe talking about the civil rights movement in class, which I guess even to this day still happens. And I was thinking, I was like, wow, like this, like they were like the power couple, like they were amazing, both of them. And so I was like, I have pretty cool grandparents. I think it was then that kind of really started to kind of sink in, I guess, like around 9. And even now I'm like, it comes back at times, and I'm like wow, like that, like literally my reaction is kind of just like anyone else in this room, like wow, like they were really cool, like that, like and like the fact that I'm like related to them and share like their blood is pretty cool. And in terms of carrying on the legacy, I think that it's always been something that's been in me. I think that it's never been something that was forced upon me. My parents never said, okay, you have to do this, you have to continue the work. In fact, they told me, they were like, you can take whatever path you want, and we will encourage any path, and if you decide to continue this work, then so be it, but then if not, like we're not going to put this pressure on you. And I think sometimes when I would kind of ask about it, they'd be like, are you sure? I guess, like, are you sure you want to get in this? And I think it was almost like, I like to joke and say they did like a reverse psychology on me, because when they would like ask, like, are you sure, like you don't have to do this, I'm like, well, what happens if I join? Like what happens if I do this work? Kind of like, it's almost like where, and this is like when parents are like, oh, like don't do this, and then the kid obviously not doing it, but then they kind of think in their head, well, what happens if I do? And so that's the same thing. But don't listen to your parents, please.
So I want to ask, how do you balance being his granddaughter and carrying on his legacy while also creating your own voice and your own approach to activism?
Well, I think, again, it was because of because of what my parents taught me. They never told, and even when I decided to join activism and this work, they were never like, okay, like you have to do it this way, or you have to, they told me, look, you don't have to be your grandparents. You don't have to do it the same way that they did it. And so I think that gave me kind of a lot of like, that even though, and then people kind of ask about, is it a burden? But I feel like it kind of took a lot of kind of pressure off, just having that space to breathe and be like, okay, like I don't have to do it the same way they did. I can kind of do my own thing. And I think I've kind of always, even if I didn't have that, I think I would have always kind of done it in my own way, because it's authentic to me. And I think that everyone can make an impact, but it's not going to necessarily be the same way. And I think that's what's so beautiful that's what's so beautiful about this event, that there are so many ways that you can really create an impact. And I think that we should encourage that more in schools, and again, having gatherings like this to show, okay, like, here are ways that you can really create an impact. And so, yeah, I just think that it's so cool to have events and spaces like this and that promote authenticity and again, the arts and the role that plays in creating change.
Yeah. Well, we talked a little bit about your grandfather, and you've talked a little bit about your parents, but I am a strong believer that powerful and strong-opinioned youth and children, that all starts in the home, and it all starts with parents and teachers and adults and the people that they surround themselves with, cultivating that. So I want to ask you, outside of your grandfather, who do you think has brought you to the place that you are now, where you can be so articulate and so confident in sharing your message?
I would say other just peers in general, other young people, and also those who show perseverance. I mean, like all the kids here and people like you who continue to do this work and who are also young people. I think that's so inspiring, because that kind of shows, and maybe it's also because I'm an only child. I always had this thing of not wanting to be alone, and so seeing other young people involved in this work, it kind of shows look, you're not alone. This isn't something that you have to go up against yourself. And so I think it's just so empowering when I see other young people who are engaged in this work and who are also just as passionate about me, and who are taking the action as well, because I think it's important that we talk about these issues and acknowledge them, but then also seeing people take action. And I guess in terms of people or other family who I'm inspired by, I would say my mom, both of my parents, and as well my mom, and because they taught me a lot of these things, these values. And so even the stories that I hear about my grandfather are told through the accounts of my dad, because that was, I guess, the person who was who spent in our house and in this planet, who spent probably the most time with him that we know of. And so really getting those first-hand accounts, but then again, also being taught by him and my mom about this work and about how, I guess, to act and stuff. And so I would say that really my parents, because I think that they are the reason why I am the person today. And again, with my mom, I mean, my mom is someone who really shows so much strength. I was just telling her the other day, and I may be a little biased, but I think that but I'm going to brag about my mom. But she is one of the strongest women that I know. And so I've always, I guess, inspired and aspire, and I really hope that one day I can have the type of strength that she does. And so just being so close to so many strong people and just seeing her strength and her inspiration and her wisdom just inspires me, because and it can be something outside of activism, something outside of these issues, but even if I'm having a bad day at school or something happened, or there's this issue or there's this drama or something, and I can go to her for advice, and she'll just say something so profound. And so even when I'm down, and it's not just me, it's everyone around her. When all of us are down, my mom is the one that is really lifting us all up, whether that be her friends, our other family, my dad. She's really the one that always has something insightful to say.
Well, that is something that I can definitely relate to, and I think that all the moms in this crowd deserve a round of applause.
Yes.
I think that we're going to have a lot of applause tonight, so what I'm about to say hopefully deserves the same, which is that you wrote a book, and I think that is amazing. can you talk a little bit about your inspiration and your process for writing this book, We Dream a World?
Well, I think that getting involved with this work, a lot of people, and I guess a lot of adults are like, so, are you gonna write a book? Like, when is the book coming out? Or, you should write a book. And I was like, okay, like maybe I will, I guess, write a book, or that would obviously be like amazing. That would be like a huge goal. But, and I kind of felt like I would always like one day have a book, but I just didn't realize how soon, which, I think it was literally like when people started kind of telling me that like 2 years later, the, I guess, opportunity and the timing just seemed so perfect, and it kind of all went together, and I began working on the book. And for context of how kind of long it took, and I think with the pandemic and everything, I'm a junior right now, but I was in 6th grade when this whole kind of process started. And I think, well, things were slowed down with the pandemic, but it really just all, like, this whole meeting, like our first meeting for the book, I remember, it was after one of my volleyball games. So it's just so crazy to think that, like, just like, that the whole idea, it was literally just, I guess, an idea in my head, and then there was like an official meeting after a volleyball game, but then there was still no copy, and so the whole process was just so beautiful. And I think that eventually, I mean, again, like when we were talking about earlier, the action and kind of talking about things, I think I'd kind of talked about it, but I thought that it was time to make it an actual product. It was an idea, but like to have like the actual physical product. And I guess I kind of, in some ways, I mean, like we went through each step, we went through each progress, but like I didn't really like believe or see how far we'd come until I saw like the physical book. So it's actually, it was such a fun process. And I think my favorite part about the book was actually the whole process of seeing it develop. It was really like, it's almost like I guess a baby developing in the womb. Like it was like a whole, like there were like all these different stages, and so it really did develop into something. And it first started off with an idea, and I think timing, it just all kind of aligned together, and so it was kind of like one of those things where it's either now or never, especially as someone who I have like a history of procrastinating. So especially as like a big procrastinator, I was like, let me get this done. Let me get this one done. And maybe there'll be others to come, because if this one's done, then I can do others. So I think it was also like timing, and again, trying to break the habit of waiting last minute until it's too late. So I was like, well, why not now? Go ahead and do it early.
Yeah. So I think that even just you saying about going from your volleyball game to your first book meeting is such a raw and powerful message about just finding in that juxtaposition of something that is just a normal kid activity, like going to a volleyball game and participating, to going to your first book meeting, and really show, it's such a beautiful thing, and it shows that kids can be kids, and they can still be spreading a message, and they can still be powerful, and that it also goes to show that we all need to be contributing. And then I think it's obvious to see that your book is a form of activism, and though many people associate activism with marching and holding signs and protesting, and while that is most definitely a part of it, and it's very important, activism can also take form in the arts, in writing, and music, storytelling. So I want to ask, what does being an activist mean to you, and what do these different forms of activism contribute to our altogether fight for justice?
So I love this question, because I think so often when a lot of times the question is usually like, what can we do? And so the answer is literally within this question, which is using the arts. And the arts is one medium, but finding what you're good at. I think a lot of times, and again, I think we kind of touched on this earlier in the conversation, about how there's this kind of way or thing that everyone associates with activism, as you mentioned, with the signs and the protests and the speaking. And of course, that is, again, like obviously a big part, but that's not the only way that you have to take part. I mean, I think that a lot of times, a lot of the big impact is made behind the curtain. And so I guess we need people to attend these marches and route, but then not only that, and not only going to march, but then also taking action in your community. And because sometimes I think marches, a lot of times it's only something that is occasional, but I think with the arts or with starting a club, there's kind of initiative going on every day. And so I think that it's so important to start clubs or join clubs. I mean, it's so great to already join a group that's out there, and I think that the arts play a huge role, and a lot of people forget about that. But during the civil rights movement, there was a whole arts sector, and there were a whole movements dedicated to really expressing this activism and these issues through the arts. And I think that the arts, what's so significant and special about it, whether that be through writing or music or really any or visual art, is that you can really, I think, connect with the people. And I think that speaking is one way and one kind of medium that you can connect with people, but then also through the arts or through film and through telling stories. I think specifically through when you tell stories and when you are vulnerable and realistic and when people can see themselves in that situation, in that point of view, I guess. And I think that the arts sometimes has that ability to really do that. And for some people, a lot of times it takes a gallery or it takes that film or that book that we read in history to really understand these issues. And so I think that it's so important that not only do we read more and look more into these pieces of work, but then also if that's something that you want to do, producing it and expressing issues that you are passionate about through these mediums and art forms. And so I just want to say again, like, this event is so cool because I think it promotes that, and I think we need to promote that more, that there's other ways to be an activist and there's other ways to get involved. And again, it can be through arts, it can be through in sports and organizing with your team to do something and starting an initiative or a club. There's just so many ways that you can be involved. And I think that activism, yes, to some degree activism is about protesting and holding signs, but really I think activism is about using your platform, whatever that may be, or whatever talent or special skill you have. I know that everyone in this room definitely has a special skill, and using that for good, using that to make an impact. How can I use my thing that I'm good at and that I love to help other people? How can I use my superpower? And a lot of times in the movies with the superheroes, it sometimes takes them a minute to find their power or for their powers to develop, and sometimes the whole plot of the movie is them finding their powers. But when you find, like when Superman found his powers, he learned how to use them, because I think we all have our powers in us. Then he became Superman. I mean, he was literally like a superhuman. And so I think that just everyone in this room needs to find that power and really, and if you are already using your power for good, amazing. And so I think we need to keep using that power and to never retire with that.
Okay, all right. Well, let's give both of our guests another round of applause.
Really quickly, I know this is a little off script, but I think there's something that you all may really like. It's a little chant, so I think I just need everyone to stand up. And you're gonna repeat these words after me. Spread the word!
Spread the word!
Have you heard? All across the nation.
All across the nation.
We are going to be a great generation.
Great generation.
Now give yourselves a hand.
Thank you so much.
Now is the time that you all have been waiting for, the awesome creative works of our young people of today, the Slammin Rhymes. We want to thank all the students that submitted their poems. Our theme this year was courage. We first want to recognize everyone that wrote a poem, which those stood up, so let's give them another round of applause. First on our list, we have Ms. Taraya Smith.
This is my poem about being courageous. Let me explain this. Being brave when you should be scared, that's courageous. Take risk and pray, facing your fears, that's courageous. Not following them, trying to fit in, that's courageous. Setting trends, being a good friend, that's courageous. Taking the blame instead of placing the blame, that's courageous. Don't stay in your lane, but make a lane, that's courageous. Don't let them label you basic, that's courageous. Chasing my grades to make sure I'm paid one day, that's courageous. Hold hands with black friends, hold hands with white friends, I'll never be racist, that's courageous. Straight on is how I'm approaching every hurdle I'm faced with, that's courageous. Basketball, never played it, gave it a try, made the squad, that's courageous. Whether miss or make it, game on the line, I'm taking the shot, that's courageous. Chasing greatness, that's courageous. I'm willing to change me to see changes, that's courageous. Coming where I'm from, there are things we're facing we shouldn't be faced with. The world's so big, cold, and dangerous, at times it feels like it's in my shoulders and I can't take it. Sometimes I feel that I'm breaking from people's expectations. I've lost friends I used to play with, I've lost family, can't replace them. Yet, wake up daily doing my best to navigate this. That's courageous. I'm not sure about these political races or policy changes. Life's tough, but I can manage. I've got to get smarter, I can't be brainless, I gotta go hard, I know I can't quit. Blood, sweat, and tears, Fall Creek plays with true grit. Do what they said you can't, sis. That's courageous. My daddy's fearless, my mom is brilliant. I'm a little her, I'm a little him, I'm all me. I guess it makes sense, that's why I'm a perfect mix. Me and failure can't coexist. I know God is watching, I know God got me. I'm one of one, not a copy. Playing basketball is my dream, not a hobby. No one can stop me. I'm on a mission, I gotta get it. It's basketball or pediatrician, that's what I'm seeing, that's my vision. I'm getting better at reading, writing, and listening. I've taken losses, now I'm trying to win big. When I catch a fast break, I'm trying to windmill. I'm dreaming big, even though I'm a kid still. Know this, being courageous is so lit, in case you haven't noticed. I hope and pray this expression of me being courageous is contagious. That's why I wrote this.
Can we have Ms. Valerie Diaz come to the podium?
Courage is never as easy as it seems. Courage is something that will never be gained because you want it. Courage is something you gain because you need it. You can't just look at a situation and expect to grab your courage to get through it. The smallest actions can be taken as courage even if you feel like you failed. Just trying will be the reason it matters. Growing courage can be hard even when you're standing up to get a pencil, even just raising your hand in class while stared at like you have no potential. It feels like you have to put on a mask to make people feel happy, make people feel proud of you again. You're so quiet with no confidence to speak that people think you're rude, even when rude is the reason you're quiet. You just want to have the courage to not look for approval from others, but you just can't help it. You grew up making others happy even if it meant putting your own feelings aside. Courage is always hard to comprehend. You can tell yourself, I'll figure it out when I'm older. In truth, it only gets harder when you can't find your order. When order is never there, it really feels like trying to break down a border. You look at the people that seem oh so confident and admiring them, wanting to know how they do it. Courage never gets easier no matter what age. Your fear will feel like a large shadow in the corner of your room, swallowing you whole every minute that goes by. You'll feel hopeless, like you're drowning, and no one stops to ask if you're all right and comply. You can cry and cry, asking yourself, why didn't I do it when I had the chance? But whenever asked if you're having a hard time, you'll deny. Even when internal you is screaming for help, you can't even whisper loud enough to say, excuse me. When you're a kid, you can't seem to get out of bed because there's a monster under your bed. When you're a teen, you never want to participate in class because they're all people who you dread. When you're an adult, you finally grow the little bit of courage to speak up to your boss, but you never got to finish what you pled. Never wait to grow your courage. The plant never waits to bloom its flower. Bloom your confidence and bloom your courage. It'll be worth it soon enough. Take your chances and do what you feel is needed. Get up to get your pencil and speak up to whoever makes you feel like a non-essential. Ask out that girl you find beautiful and tell your boss about that work race needed to be fruitful. Never stop yourself from situations that really only happen once in a lifetime. Who knows when you'll get a chance like that again? What if that one decision could decide what you do for the rest of your life? Taking that small risk will lead to big and grateful outcomes. It'll be hard, but when your courage is finally there, you'll be able to grab whenever you need it. You'll be more confident in yourself. Your small actions will turn into big actions. You'll stand out without trying, and you'll be able to speak up for yourself instead of holding back your reactions. You can find the way to be the person you admire so much. Courage will finally be as easy as it seems.
Next to the stage, may we have Ray Stash.
What really is courage? Courage is a soldier rushing into battle knowing he won't come home to see his family again. A student valiantly defending his classmates from a shooter even though he's only 10. An ironclad knight on his steed viciously fighting in an old war. A frightening mother bear protecting her cubs against a hunter expelling a loud roar. A young man at a protest for his community's rights, going up to barricades, yelling and wielding signs, and a mourning widow consenting to her husband's organ donation, writing her signature in the lines. Courage can be a woman on a first date again after she was violently domestically abused, a football player going back to his first game after a horrible injury, a winner reintroduced. A new mother happily holding her newborn baby after a former miscarriage, a teenager bravely standing up to their friend's bully, spouting a new message. A woman standing up to a cop even after her family's bad history with them, a debater's first time in a debate with a large audience planting a knowledge stem, an anxious new student's name getting called out in front of the class, shyly saying here, and a priest, after a long time learning for the first time, finally directing Mass, hoping he speaks clear. Courage is even a news reporter's first time on air, hoping that to her luck is fair. An author submitting their first draft to a publisher for the first time, writing all the specifics with care. An artist's first time auctioning off their art. An old man conquering his fear of heights for the first time, going skydiving, pummeling beats in his heart. An adult buying their first house, a teenager getting their first driver's license after 2 years of learning, happily squealing like a mouse. A high school valedictorian orating her speech for the first time after practicing for weeks. A second grader petting a scary snake for the first time at a school petting zoo, he joyfully shrieks. A mother watching her daughter drive off to college for her first year, and even a boy excitedly letting go of his parents' hands to go off to kindergarten, shedding a happy tear. Courage can be anything, really. Anyone could have courage and bravery.
Next, we have Jaden Brewer.
Growing up, I thought people already knew what they wanted to be. I didn't. I tried and I tried and tried, but I couldn't be what I was supposed to be. Wishing and wondering what to be, longing for someone or something, but I just kept getting beat. Going to school is easy, watching TV is hard, doing my work stressed out from trying to be me, but I still get beat. Longing for the urge to connect with my outside world, to be free and have confidence in me, wanting to get up the courage to say, I am me, but I just keep getting beat. Now the world that used to be mine, the world that I had seen, is cheating me, beating me, and mistreating me. And suddenly Pumpkin's not there anymore. And I don't feel that urge to go on with life to the point where I'm on the verge of not having a life at all, but at least I can visit Gigi. But all I see is Pumpkin's eyes, the pain and the hurt of not being able to say goodbye, wishing that I had the courage that she saw in me to stand up for me, but I just keep getting beat. Then I get to say goodbye. I hear Pumpkin's voice inside me telling me to go on, keep up the good work, speak out, laugh out loud. That is what helps me. That the courage in my heart has been seen, looking for a way to take a stand, and I finally take that stand to the fear that no longer is defining me or telling me who I am. I finally see that I am me. Waking up, starting my day as easy as can be, as I can say that my heart beats stronger with courage each day that I have seen the courage in me, but for me to be seen is a wonderful thing. As I venture to the next part of my life, every turn I take redefining me, making me a better person. As I look around, I finally see that the world's all around me is for everyone and not just me. I breathe and I jump and I hop in between as I see the world didn't endure me nor make me, and that I have tenacity and courage, and now I will never be beat.
Next, we have Jeremiah Pryor, Jeremiah with a G.
Courage is something you find in yourself. Without courage, we wouldn't be brave, like how some people are. But what if everyone had courage? Then we'd probably be living on Mars or even be touching stars. Courage is something that you have to believe in, because if you don't, it won't believe in you back. Courage is something that has to be big. Just submitting a hard test or even speaking out in public are things that require courage. Imagine you were a little kid and you were scared to ride your bike. You try and try and try, but you can't get it. But then you try one more time and give it your all. And then, boom, you're riding your bike. Even that takes courage. You may not think, I'm not courageous, but even doing things like riding your bike or tying your shoe, you're being courageous the entire time. When you think about being courageous, do you think about yourself? Because if you don't, you should. Everyone needs to believe in themselves that they're courageous. Do you think that Chadwick Boseman was always courageous? He had to learn how to be courageous throughout his entire role as Black Panther. Even in the movie when he lost his fight and came back, he must have been very courageous for that. People do courageous things all the time without them knowing. So you need to ask yourself, what's stopping me from being courageous? If it's a fear, I want you to face it. If it's learning how to ride your bike or how to read, I want you to believe in yourself that you can do that and then go after it. Courageous people never give up. They always try to push through with as much as they can. Think of someone courageous. Have you ever seen them give up? If no, try to become like them. Try to always be courageous, because maybe one day you'll become someone else's hero who's always courageous. One last thing. I want you to think, what is one way I'm being courageous? Once you get that, I want you to think again, what is one more way I can be courageous? Once you get that, I want you to say in your head, I believe I'm courageous. I believe I'm courageous. I believe I'm courageous. Once you have that, I want you to go help someone out. If you see that they're scared or struggling with something, show them how you're courageous and how they can be courageous just like you.
Next to the stage, we have Jade Halliburton.
This is my poem, Courage is Armor. Courage is armor. It's similar to melanin. It's displayed for all to see, and though it's embedded within, it can go unnoticed without proper recognition, ownership. Like when Chase Lancaster walked into gunfire without a bulletproof suit to save a girl he never knew. But leaving your body open to wounds is not bravery, just utter stupidity. You're asking for gash wounds and medical bills to skyrocket through the roof. But I can relate to those who have only one brain cell, slightly hanging on. For if I was the one with my limbs dangling, I'd want someone to make way, selflessly, save me. I want to be the one to walk into the fire, with no fire background, leave out with scars of accomplishment. I want to jump into the pool knowing, I don't know. I don't know how to swim, but I play lifeguard as I tell them take my hand, hold on. I want to do everything, create my legacy. But why dream so vividly when I can save a life with my vernacular? Sharpen my tongue like a sword so that each word resonates deep beneath the epidermis. I don't want my words to just be heard by a crowd with closed ears, because what may seem diminutive to us can be someone else's reason to live. I want to accumulate a population where we stand hand in hand, in unison, for I've never heard of a one-man army. Serendipity doesn't happen without action, so please intervene. You are not an inconvenience, but if you do nothing, we will forever bow to an authority we never voted to lead us.
Next to the stage, Celine Umatesi.
My poem is called Fear Equals Success. Courage is not something you're born with. It's something you gain over time. You get it when you're willing to step out your comfort zone. It's every time you get that little twitch in your mind. Almost like butterflies, it's calling you, whispering in your ear. Step out your comfort zone. Step out your comfort zone. Step out your comfort zone. Even if you're scared, it might be the best decision you've ever dared. Courage is not something you're born with. It's something you gain over time. It's okay if you don't have it now. That's part of the climb. Courage isn't in the grand parade, nor in the banners brightly laid, but in the heart that beats in fright and still reaches for great heights, and still dares to overcome that fear and shine bright. So many of your favorite historical figures also fear something, but they were able to overcome it and become the people we are now loving. Stepping out of your safe space and having grit can help you overcome that fear you have and embark on your courageous campaign. On that journey, make sure you remain with important life lessons. It's okay to be afraid or scared. I've felt that many times. When I wanted to do something or have been dared, with all this talk of courage, you also gotta talk about fear. It actually helps push you to do things that scare you. Likewise, it also pushes you away from things you want to do. Fear has helped me to realize that I have nothing to worry about. It's all just in my head. Fear also helps keep us safe. So you don't need to worry about being unsafe. When you see a bear, you obviously run. That's fear keeping us alive and well. But fear also keeps us from taking risks all along. While our mind thinks of a million ways how things could go wrong, and that's okay. That's how fear serves its purpose. But don't give away your power to fear. Don't let it control you. Step out your comfort zone. Step out your comfort zone. Step out your comfort zone, and you'll always be true to yourself. You're capable of dreams so grand with courage. Take a brave stand. Embrace the fear. Let it inspire. Take that step and climb higher. For all you wish you can attain. Break the chains of doubt and pain. Believe in you, let your spirit soar. The path is yours, just open the door.
Last but definitely not least, we would like to welcome Cecil to the stage, please.
Okay. Hi, my name is Cecil Khadijah. I'm still working on the title of my poem, but here it is. They had the courage to pave the way for all of us today, but to their surprise, to open our eyes and see a world full of lies, 'cause they paved the way for something new. Like Dr. King, he helped us too. He made this world a better place, no matter the risks that were put in place. But don't forget the ones who slayed, his mother, his wife, and the people who gave their entire life to make us great. And we thank Fannie Lou Hamer, who used her proud black voice despite her hurting joints, and to Mae Jemison, who led the way for black female astronauts here today. And to one last person, here we shout, Kamala Harris, you won without a doubt. You may not have won president, but you inspired us women to make a move and to make sure men don't make every rule.